all the dreams are really based on wanting to create our own personal happiness. People think through money, through love relationships, whatever, but in the end, it's what we're all wishing for ourselves, and therefore, why not wish it for all of us and allow us to unify? If we could trust each other enough to break through all those separations, we could stop stepping on each other and allow each other to live side by side. That's the highest state of being one can be in, yeah, is to experience the other as the I.
In today's busy world, how can we find the inspiration, knowledge, and energy to live a healthy and empowered life? If we balance and harmonize our mind, exercise our body, live according to the laws of nature, and connect to spirit, can we find a way to heal, become our authentic self, and live our purpose with love? I am your hostess, Amy Fournier, and welcome back to Awakening Aphrodite. You're the woman. I'm going to put you right on the spot. What are some of your favorite Paleo Valley products? I know mine.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Right now I'm obsessed with our essential vitamin C. I think far too few people know how important vitamin C is to their health and how much having a little bit more is actually very, very beneficial. We got amla berry, unripe acerola cherry, and camu berry because they're three of the world's most potent, organic, natural sources of vitamin C that you don't just find anywhere. And then we put them in capsules. And also there's 450 milligrams per serving because I do really think in our state of health, where most of us aren't necessarily healthy, where we have environmental pollution, we're overstressed, we need more vitamin C. Vitamin C is very supportive.
You can go ahead and find it on my website under the recommended products. Just scroll down and find Paleo Valley. You'll see all their wonderful products there, which I use all the time. You can use my coupon code to save 10%, Amy Fournier 10. Now let's get back to the show. Hey everybody, I'm here with my friend Hannah of Sebin Solus, my favorite new skincare company and self-care. Hannah, your company has changed my life. I use the products every day. Tell us about the name of your company. Why did you call it Sebin Solus?
Seb, actually in Farsi means apple, and apple in the Persian New Year is used on our table as a representation of health, wellness, and beauty. And solace is a sort of like soothing aspect of that. And in English, it means soothing, it means calming. A skincare company that helps soothe at the same time receiving these sustainable ingredients that actually benefit your skin and your gut.
Please try it out. Sebin Solus. Enter the special coupon code FITAMYTV10, all caps, at checkout, and you'll save 10%. Welcome back to Awakening Aphrodite with Amy Fournier. This show's about helping you to be healthy and fit in mind, body, and spirit, as well as harmonize your masculine and feminine energy, tap into your intuition, your true source of power, and awaken your authentic self. Today, I have a beautiful conversation that I'm excited to share with you. I had the pleasure of sitting down with Nina Meyerhoff, and Nina is the type of person that you just want to, like, on a dark, cold night, snuggle up on a couch next to with a warm cup of tea and your feet in cozy socks and just have a girl chit chat with. She's one of my favorite types of people to interview on the show because she's what is known as really a wise elder. And you've probably heard me say before that I feel like the world is desperately in need of more of these people that have walked the walk and talked the talk and have the real boots on the ground experience and wisdom and perspective and insight to share with us so we can all learn from their life experience, because there's no substitute for real life experience, right? Even if you're an old soul, like you're a young person that was told you're an old soul and you're deep, I know I was when I was younger. I still now look back at where I am in my life and I think, yeah, but you know what? There's still no substitute for the things that happen in a full, longer life. And Nina is the epitome of a warrior goddess and a woman who is living her values. It's one thing to say, this is important to me, and supporting children and supporting the earth and having peace in the world and making the world a better place. It's one thing to say those beautiful things and have those intentions. Yes, it's beautiful. but it's another thing to live it and put your money where your mouth is. And Nina is the epitome of that. Dr. Nina Meyerhoff is the founder of the Children of the Earth organization, which is a worldwide organization that empowers youth working for peace, and the One Humanity Institute, which is located in Poland. Nina's innovative work in peace and sustainability through the educational methodologies has reached young people in over 90 countries and continues to grow. Presently, Nina is focused on One Humanity Institute, a city of hope, for concretizing as a physical solitarium for peace and sustainability. The One Humanity Institute will offer structured learning opportunities in a variety of forms for young people and adults through formal and non-formal education and behaviors that aims to move hate to hope and bring forward a brighter future for us all. Nina is totally passionate and committed as a world peacemaker and a world server. Her focus is on the realization that peace must come from recognizing our own interwoven unity. Nina has received awards from her work, from the Mother Teresa Award to the Citizens Department for Peace Award to the International Educators Award, as well as the state of Vermont passed a resolution honoring her for her life's work in peace. The SAGE Award recently awarded the Global Leadership and Lifetime Award, as well as the Visioneer Lifetime Achievement Award as the Heroine of Humanity, and Award for Exceptional Women of Peace. Nina was also recently awarded the Awakening Peace Award in 2023. I mean, my goodness, is that enough awards for you? Isn't that incredible? She is an incredible powerhouse and still going strong. We tap into her life's work and wisdom that we can all learn from. And even if we just feel inspired from a woman who's out there making it happen. We talk about her travels from the educational institutions that she founded up and her working with children, about making choices and how she's living her values, the different stages of life, and her leadership programs, how she had a divine, deep, intense faith in her destiny and a deep, deep trust of life, as well as allowing life to happen and unfold around her, even though she was proceeding in uncertainty. And I really tapped into that because that's a big part of our show, Awakening Aphrodite, because that is the allowing energy, right? Do you feel like you need to know what's going to happen and have a sense of certainty that things will work out, or do you start like mentally masturbating problems to death? Well, we need to get more into our feminine Aphrodite energy of allowing. And I love that Nina shares with us how she did that and how she does that. We talk about how there's bumps in the road, and that when we have bumps, that can be a lack of really trusting the life process, which is essential to live outside of the box. Her methods for trusting her intuition, the importance of believing in yourself, and the value of retrospect, not knowing the steps in life, but having the grace to be able to look back and starting to understand how all the pieces fit. Isn't that such a blessing? And now the later stages in Nina's life, now that she's in her 80s, and she talks about how it's now a process of letting go, and how she actually feels more vulnerable in certain ways. So you got to definitely listen to that part about what's going on with her at that stage in her life. I ask her about regrets, and then we end up talking about the career-family balance, the relationship between being purpose-driven as a woman, but also wanting a fulfilling, loving partnership. Are those two mutually exclusive? You're going to want to hear her answer to that. And the importance of having a dream, no matter what stage of life you're in, whether you be young, middle-aged, older, whatever. We all need a compelling future, as Tony Robbins refers to it. And yes, 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 Nina is definitely still going strong, which is very, very inspiring. And lastly, we talk about the reciprocal nature of love and how ultimately it comes down to we are all one. And I asked Nina what that means to her, because you've probably heard that expression before. It's easy to say, but it's another thing to have your life exemplify that, and for you to be always, always working toward that dream of making people realize we are all one. and what we do to anything else in the world is only going to eventually reflect and affect us, because ultimately it's all one big spider web, my friends. You touch it and the whole thing will shake. You're going to either figure it out now or figure it out later. So how can we go ahead and be part of making the world a better place? Who better to ask her wisdom in helping us do that than Nina Meyerhoff? Let's now join Nina. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome back, everyone. Nina, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
What an honor. What a privilege. One of my favorite absolute topics is to talk to women that are experienced in life and have gone through the school of hard knocks and are coming out smelling like roses on the other side, so we can all learn from your wisdom. And I can't wait to tap into all the wonderful real life experience that you have gone through, Nina. So welcome to the show. I mentioned in the introduction some of your amazing accomplishments, your life history, but do you want to give us just a brief synopsis of some of the highlights of what brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, surely. I would say when I was young, 12 years old, I went to a school called the School of Humanity. And there's where I felt the first imprint of caring for others. And that became stronger as I grew older. And I started in the educational system and became from an aide to director of 10 schools and more. I got my doctorate in education, blah, blah, blah. But then I really felt that schools were not doing what I held as important for young people. I was really concerned that they be who they are and they fulfill the purpose that they have and connect with others, sort of what I had experienced in the school when I was 12 years old. Now, not everybody experienced that. Obviously, that was mine to experience. And then I started doing a camp based on values. And from that, I took it out into the world as leadership programs and went to about 150 countries now, though, working in about 90. And then I focused on One Humanity Institute, which sort of grounded me in terms of what my legacy is. Is that an okay synopsis?
That pretty much wraps it up right there. It says so much. And again, why I want you on the show, because one of the beautiful things about you, Nina, is that you are an example of a human, not just a woman, but a person who is living their values. It's one thing to say things are important to you or say this is a priority, but you're walking the talk. You're putting your money where your mouth is. And it's another thing when the rubber meets the road and when the chips are down or what have you, life throws stuff at you, to persevere and live your values. Put your feet where your priorities are. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that journey? Because I'm sure it wasn't easy for you.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly when it happened, but I think I was working on Russian kids' school exchanges and Ukrainian school exchanges and doing my regular job. And I was going to school at night. And I was a divorced mother. I had 2 children. I was, I had a full pack on my shoulder and I ran a farm. So I felt like a workhorse, I would say. And yet I wanted to do everything. But at a certain point, I realized I needed to make a choice. And that choice was, do I go on this boat that way or do I go on that boat that way? And I really came to understand within me that no matter what boat I take, I'm going to come back to the same place, that your destiny brings you to where you're supposed to be. And so I decided, trust life. Go for it, jump out of the system, forget about your pension, forget about your retirement, and go for it, And once I started feeling that and thinking that, it's like my life became a miracle because it was nothing I had planned. And I had a dream about a half year later. And a man that I've read his book circled over me and he said, "You're ready to work now. You're going to the UN." And the next day I got a call from the UN to come down for a meeting. I went, and that was it. I was off and running. And that's what I want to say to people. If you allow yourself to step back a little bit and not always think about what you're supposed to do, what you have to do, what the expectations of your life have been, and just allow things to materialize on the table for you. And don't evaluate them in terms of good or bad, but just see what's there, like a smorgasbord, of food. And then you look and you say, oh, there, that's for me. I belong there. And you just go for it and go along the way. And yes, it's a bumpy road, because the bumps really come from the lack of having total faith. The minute you have total faith, it's all just the way it's supposed to be. So there's no problem. But the lack of total faith, this isn't making money. I don't know how I'm going to pay the bills. I don't know where I'm going. Where am I going to live? How am I going to this? If you stop the mind chatter and trust the life process and realize we don't have to live in a box anymore. The world is our home. We are interconnected, interdependent, and we really are all one. Well, if you know that on some level, what's there to be afraid of? Just go for it and live it and be it and see what comes. Worst comes to worst, you can go back to the systems.
That's just so tremendous. Okay, let's break that down, because you've said so many beautiful things, and, we've heard of, trust the process and we're all one and all this. But again, when the rubber meets the road, you have exemplified someone who really did it, because it's one thing to say that, and I've done that myself, but I will admit there's been times when I'm jumping off that cliff, where I'm trusting, because I have a very deep faith in spirituality. And I believe in a benevolent creator for sure that truly loves us all. And we have to trust and be brave and all that. But there's been times where I'm like, oh, damn, this is super uncomfortable. And then all the little, the little what ifs come in, and the fear factor. And like you were saying, so can you walk us through maybe what your process was to, I love that you said you came to that fork in the road. That's the Hecate moment, right? And you had to choose. But do you have a process, Nina? Does your intuition talk through your body, a sign? Like, how does that work for you to know, to make decisions?
The more you listen to yourself and your intuitive self and the information you receive, the more you have faith in the process. The more you have faith in the process, the easier it becomes. So I would say your age, I was much more unsure of myself. I'd go on the path, I'd fall off, I'd get up.
Yeah.
It's hard to decide what is karma, what is your own issues that you threw in there. I mean, it's hard to tease that apart. So nobody be hard on yourself, but believe that there is a personal soul purpose. The more I became spiritually aligned and spiritually oriented, I would say the more I understood to live from inside out. And I don't live, like the outers became an expression of the inner versus the outer became the expression for the inner.
And what was your process of becoming more spiritually aligned? Did you do daily prayers? I mean, did you have rituals? What did you really do to bring that online?
I still am an esotericist. And that meant I really studied the metaphysical laws of the universe and all the thinking and all what's happening above us. I was really determined to understand, and I went to every spiritual meeting and I read all the books, but that process was very meaningful for me, and I did it daily for 25 years, I would say. Yeah, I was a good student. That's what I am, a good student.
Yeah, aren't we all?
The journals, and once a month a report, and you have an anonymous group that answers you and sort of targets what you need to focus on. It was quite a process. So I did that for so many years that it became me. and I became part of what is known as the new group of world servers, or that's what I understood on the inner self. Yeah, that there was people being born, pioneering new thinking, that we had a purpose to be on this earth at this time for the birthing of the new millennium and all the potential. And I would say, 2025 is coming, is really a remarkable year. And then 2050 should be a big shift, and change for all of us. And I won't be here, but I'll be looking down, checking on you.
All right. Now, wow, there's a lot you just said there. I love it all. This is fantastic. Before we tap into what you're talking about, the year 2025 and 2050, just as far as you're saying you're a student, like, as we all of us are, right? Students of life. But I love that you literally were a student per se in the daily studies. So were there any resources that are your favorite, the most impactful book, person, mentor that you can direct us to?
I want to say that I was so fortunate. I started to meet spiritual leaders all around the world, and they all were somewhat interested in me becoming part of their entourage, So I would learn whatever I could from them, but I would never totally identify with them.
Yeah.
I was in Italy with a lama, and I was in Thailand with an abbot, and I was, all over the world. But the process that meant the most to me was the Alice Bailey work. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's an esotericist, and that's channelings from a man named DK the Tibetan, and they are deep understandings of how our universe works, what's happened in the past for millennials, and what's to happen in the future. And amazing set, I think, of 30 books. I mean, it's very hard to read, but a funny part of it was that I'd read a page. You couldn't read more than a page or two at a time.
Yeah, deep.
Yeah, but it was a remembering rather than a first-time occurrence.
It felt familiar.
Yeah, and that's so important. You find where you belong by that sense. It's like when you meet somebody and you think you know them, It's that same feeling. Well, trust that feeling as much as you can, because it's meant to tell you something.
I think that is such a direct experience of God to me. That feeling, I love that feeling. I mean, I call it a God wink. And a lot of time I literally get an inner smile where literally my body smiles. Like, I don't consciously think, oh, that makes me feel happy, then my mouth smiles. Like, my body smiles first, and then I get the hit of, oh, that's cool. Like, it's amazing. Like, I just think that's the best feeling in the world. It's a way of great spirit letting you know, like, yep, we got you, kid. Yeah. I love it. That's wonderful. One of my favorite things.
Like a God's wink. Yeah.
Yep.
People, listeners, please don't think anybody can be anything. It's like, find out what feels right to you. I never planned to be a world change maker. Now, that was not my goal. My goal was to experience what was in front of me and to do it to the fullest I was able. And obviously I worked with young people most of my life, so that was the arena I would choose wherever I went. But really allow yourself to believe in yourself, not as better or less than anybody else, but personally endowed with some kind of individual soul possession that needs to be expressed in this lifetime. It can be expressed through dance, through food, through relationships. But anytime you start to move on that path, you become much more positive as a human being. Like, I believe most of the anger and hate is feeling disenfranchised and separated out. And if you begin to feel like you're in full expression of yourself, you'll also begin to feel you're connected to others too, because there's no fear boundary holding you separate. So that's the work ahead of you. And
Such
everybody can do that. You can do a regular job and still do that. You know, if you're concerned about the political situation, there's little steps. And there was a man, the 1 Minute Manager, and he said something good. I took a class with him when I was young, and he said, just do one thing every day towards the goal you believe in. Just a little thing. And before you know, it's lots of steps, really lots of steps.
Such great advice. Yep, we get overwhelmed. We look at the big goal and like, oh my God, like even me, I'm working on a digital course right now for my audience, and it's such a monumental goal. But if I just take even like 30 minutes every day to do something toward that, like the saying, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? Terrible analogy, but you know what I'm trying to say. A big thing in one little piece at a time. Such great advice. Now let's go a little deeper into the believing in yourself, Nina, because I'm curious, what was your childhood growing up parental relationship? Were you encouraged as a child by your parents? Well, because a lot of people didn't have that reinforcement or that foundational ground level of like, I am worthy of just who I am. I don't have to earn approval and love and acceptance. And I don't know if I can do it. We've got self-doubt. What was your situation and how would you help the rest of us?
Even say, like I was 3 years old, and I remember facing my mother and my mother telling me my imaginary playmate wasn't real. And I threw out the window, but what I realized at that very young age, that I had to make a choice between being myself or pleasing my parents. It was very strange to be at that young.
Yeah, and 3? Wow.
Yeah, and but it was like, that's why I threw the imaginary friend out the window. Why do I remember that? I don't even know why I do, but that was a monumental change.
Yeah.
It was all of a sudden I became responsible for my parents versus they were responsible for me. And so they wanted me to be a doctor, they wanted me to be a this, of that, or whatnot. And so I was always one hand there and one hand somewhere else, until I finally was able to figure out for myself, what am I doing? And in the end, I think parents, I mean, maybe not all, but they want you to feel fulfilled and happy.
Yeah.
That's what we all want for ourselves and for our children. And when you start to see your child become something, whatever that is, and feeling fully alive and grounded, I think they give up their pushiness about who they think that you want them to be. But our culture is really put that into our psyches, to meet our parents' needs. And there's nothing wrong with parents and them doing that. It's just that it doesn't help us. It's not very effective. And it confuses us, really, because we don't know, are we us or are we them?
Programming.
And we're just carrying out their lineage, and we're going in a straight line. Well, who said you had to be born to go in a straight line? Nobody.
There's no straight lines in nature, that's for sure.
That's right. And how do you connect and move around and feel the fullness of it all? Yep.
Well, it's obvious by what you're sharing with us that you came into this world with a very strong inner compass, Nina. That's very clear. And I can't say that's common. I don't know about you, but that's 3 years old. That's pretty impressive. Wow. And is that what led you to living a life that was putting your feet where your priorities were and your values and feeling confident that jumping off that?
I went through some very dark phases also.
Can you share some with us just so the audience knows you're human?
First marriage was abusive.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's not good.
No.
And my second marriage was a long, regular marriage, but it ended too. Because nobody teaches us how to make a marriage better. I was so conditioned, if I didn't like something, go. Do your own thing. Forget about it. I can only put the picture together now in retrospect. I could never have understood what I was doing going forward. I mean, it was just one life experience after, I mean, that, now I can extract the important pieces, and I can understand that I probably was a spiritual person before in a cave or something, that I had a role to play. But you know what? There are many of us here. And yes, for the people that don't feel it, it's like you have more layers to discover. That's all. It's layers, and you're peeling off those external layers to ask yourself, really, who are you? And when you have a feel for that, acknowledge it and be it as much as possible.
Do you have any other spiritual practices that you do to ground you into yourself and that connection you have?
Well, I used to do a lot. I don't do anything anymore.
No, because you're good. You said it became part of you, is what you were mentioning earlier. It's
plateaued,
yeah,
These are the last years of my life, and I'm really focusing on what does that mean to me? How do I live it? What do I do for this process? And I mean, it's a whole different thing to think about last year's in retrospecting, reflecting. Yeah.
Let's talk about that, because that's part of what my course is about, the stages of a woman's life. Do you want to share with us now with this retrospect perspective that you now have, that you're, at one end of the spectrum, so to speak? Well, can we break it down to, 0 to 10 and 10 to 20, like, the decades of life? Or can you share with us, for the audience, some wisdom of, like, from your point of view now, what you want the 0 to 10-year-olds, the 10 to 20-year-olds, perhaps that would be helpful.
Well, I think I'd just be talking off the top of my head. So
that's okay. We trust your judgment. You talk from your heart.
I tell your audience, I'm 81 years old. I'm still working full time. My brain works well. My body works well. I'm very fortunate, but that means also I have a duty to keep going forward. And I would say it's been very interesting. As I've gotten older, people see me as wiser, or I'm receiving a lot of awards. It's sort of a reflection back to me of the work I've done. But never, ever did I think about any of those things when I was doing something. I was just doing what was in front of me. And I would say the best years in terms of that work are around the 40s. You sort of, you move back into the culture, society, but you have the wisdom, of a 40-year-old versus a 20-year-old. And so 40s to 55 and 60 are really useful in terms of making, inroads in life. But you have to also be willing to slowly let go and then slowly capsize. You have to allow your world to get smaller, because you're no longer that dynamic energy out there. And I think in the old days, they allowed that process much more, while here in the Western culture, they abhor it. They don't respect it.
Can you clarify what you mean by willing to let go? Like, let go of what, Nina, at this stage of your life? Concepts, ideas?
Your personal expectations of yourself.
Okay.
Like, I'm not who I was at 40, I just wanted to, make everything happen all the time. I'm good at standing back and understanding the field and orchestrating and coordinating, but I can't be directly the one that's leading the pack anymore.
Have you noticed a significant change in your energy level, a more increased need for self-care, boundaries, like, nope, I'm powering on, like, have you noticed that at all?
Yeah, I feel more than time. It's vulnerability. It's like my outer layer is much more malleable and vulnerable to outside stimulation. So somebody's anger, which I couldn't normally push away or walk through and not, it really goes into me. And it's almost like my outer layer is thinner than before.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? That sounds kind of reverse of what usually happens, because a lot of times women, they get their voices, they get older and more like, I'm not doing it if I don't want to do it. If it's not a holy hell yeah, then it's a no. But you've become more sensitive. Is that what we're hearing you say?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, it's like, that's why you can't do as much out there, because you're more vulnerable to responses. Yeah. It's like energy impacts you more.
Wow. 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 Oh boy.
And
So,
I don't think I'm unusual. I wouldn't say, oh, other people are different. I would say as you get older, the world has to get smaller. Your mind can only take in. My mind was like an elephant's mind in a computer. I could find anything. Well, not all the boxes are full now, or they're full and I can't find them. I don't know. But the point is, I can function fine. But, don't put that. If I try and take in too much, it feels like pressure, on my brain. And it just tells you that you're moving in, like everything, you got to move with it. Like when you were a little child, you had to move with that process. You can't fight it. And when you fight it, that's when you're going to get all those problems.
100%. Any regrets, Nina, looking back so far? Like, geez, I wish if I'd known then what I know now.
Yeah, I would say the one regret I had is I gave my life to the purpose. And doing that, I didn't know how to balance my relationship life. I would have them, they would come and go, but I was so on purpose that, it was hard to be with me, I'd say.
Very common for my audience and me, that absolutely, that I'm so glad that this came up. Well, not that that's happened to you, but I just mean that that's a very common thing for the ambitious woman who really wants to contribute value to the world. It's always a delicate balance, right? Between the heart and the head and the home and the outer world, the inner world. Wow.
And I'll tell you, in this whole, I didn't mind it all my life because I was driven to do what I had to do no matter what. And I had male friends all the time.
Yeah.
But I didn't give it what it should be given if you really value that process. And that process takes as much work as work takes, You have to acknowledge that. So you have to decide as an individual how much you're willing to give to that. And, and maybe it's an off-on thing, but it's worth, teasing apart, asking yourself and having discussion around it.
Do you feel like those two things to accomplish at your level, whether it be an impactful career like you've had and a fulfilling, wonderful relationship, are mutually exclusive? Do you think we can have both?
Well, I don't. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. The way I lived it, no, you couldn't have it because I was like flipping around. But I would say that with thought, one can have it, because I think a marriage that's been in existence 15 years or 20 years would allow separation to occur a little bit more.
Yeah.
So when you reach the 40s and 50s, you start your own thing, and there's an acknowledgement, I'll take care of this while you take care of that, and you come together to do nice things, but you accept each other's paths. But I don't think we're brought up to be that way, so we don't think that way, and we have a lot of expectations of what we want from a marriage or a partnership.
Very, very true. One thing that I'm hearing is consistent for you is that you always had like a compass or something in your, which is essential for every stage in life, is something, I think Tony Robbins calls it a compelling story, something to move towards that excites your soul, that a reason to get up every day, you know what I mean? And you certainly had it when you were younger, but I heard you just say a few moments ago that you still have it now, which is so beautiful. So do you want to share with us your insight into having, regardless of how old you are, and I see this a lot, I see it with my own mom, like there's nothing, she doesn't have anything that she's looking forward to that's a good thing, and that's heartbreaking. So do you want to share any insight to that?
Well, my insight for me is that I feel the purpose and the dream. I have a dream to make the world a better place. I'm totally committed to that. And being committed to that, it becomes every action during the day and thoughts and writing and being. So that's who I am, basically, moving on. Though sometimes I say to myself, just be, allow life to just wrap you up in something. Go for a walk, get a massage, go for a facial. What do I know? Figure out something that pleases myself. But in the end, I always make time for what I believe I need to work on.
Well, what I think is one of the most compelling things about your life story so far, Nina, is that you are a beautiful example of the masculine, feminine embodied, in that, yes, you are very purpose driven, which is the masculine. But like you said in the beginning of the show, you were really into just allowing it, trusting it, feeling it, one step at a time. Allowing came up a few times. That's the feminine. And that's something I didn't do. I was always force it, grew up New England, like push it forward, nose down, don't complain, you're bleeding, it doesn't matter, keep going, so I love that you're an example of those two dynamics working together.
I would say that I've got a lot of feminine in me. Yeah. So I'm glad to be a woman. And I believe a woman is the space which is bringing the change. And I'm glad I incarnated at this time to be here for this process.
What's coming in 2025 and 2050?
The age of peace, I would hope,
That what they're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
all the prophecies say that, if we handle ourselves correctly, obviously, I mean, we can fight it off. There'll be a disintegration of the negative and the systems falling apart. What do we see all around us? It's like Babylon. It's like the fall of the Roman Empire. But these are abstractions. There are a lot of serious things going on here that are instruments of teaching for us. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're showing us what we've done wrong and what we're doing wrong and how we are behaving and what needs to happen next. And supposedly, as the falling apart, there's breakdown and breakthrough. And with breakthroughs, there's the potential for humanity to really realize that we have the ability to have supreme consciousness of knowing both the inner and the outer and the higher and the lower, and becoming supporters of our planet Earth and all that exists here, and working together in unison, really unifying to make a better world so this planet can evolve.
Yeah.
And go on to its future.
Yes.
We've sucked it dry of so many things.
Is that part of why you've been focused with the children? The future.
Well, I feel like they are the future, and that's sort of a banal statement. But if you think, I saw myself as a gatekeeper. I kept the old out, and I supported their new, and I really encouraged them to begin to mirror to each other what they believed in, what they could do in their lives, and what kind of systems could evolve if we were to start all over again. Like, what kind of educational system would be useful to you? What do you want to learn? How do you want to learn it? Yeah, obviously, these antiquated, industrialized buildings are not really educational in their structure. It was from the old days when mommy and daddies went to work. That's all. They put them in these buildings.
The factories, yeah.
So they could go to work. So, we need to change a lot. And we will gradually. I mean, it's sort of meant to be. And I'm very happy to be part of the change. We're all part of it. Look at the consciousness. If I spoke like this in the 70s and 80s, which I had in me to talk like, they thought I was crazy. And now 100%. I'm a person that leads other people. All that's changed is the light on me, not me,
Yes, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, we all have our time to shine, right? And I know that that's something that I think it's predetermined. You know, we don't know when our time to shine is going to be. Everybody, of course, wants it now, you know, but yeah, but life is about the process, and you know, your role in the machine. You know, if you think a machine is a million different little parts, every part is a important component of a machine running efficiently and properly and the best. And without one part, it's not going to run the best. And you never know when that part's going to be kicked in, you know?
Yeah, I do think that it is a roller coaster in the beginning, but if we can remember, it's a journey. That's all it is. And we're
Yeah.
here to learn what we can about ourselves and about this process. Really, the other things are extras. But how to accept that when we've been brought up our whole lives to think, what are we doing? Where are we living? When we live?
Yeah. And something that it makes me think of something, you know, that I often have to remind myself is not to take it all so seriously. You know, I look at all the problems and the issues and people that are confused and lost. And it's like, and so I got to remind myself, like, just don't take it all so seriously. You're not God goddess. You're not the manager of the universe, you know, like have some fun along the way. What do you have anything that you do for fun, for levity with all the heavy things that you're dealing with?
Well, I have a lot of friends.
You do.
That, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a little doggy. And I got this one. I've had doggies before, but this one I got about 4 months ago. And
Oh,
I realized that I needed something to love, to keep
yes.
my heart open as much as possible. And animals are a wonderful thing to have a relationship with, to serve them and they serve you. And, you know, that it's an incredible love to have with an animal. And if you don't have a partner, it's wonderful too. But, you know, if you
It's
don't
different.
have fun, keep your heart open. That's the most important thing.
And it's different. And animals love, because I've had two great loves in my life, as in romantic human partners. And but in animals love I would call it almost pure. It's truly unconditional, and that it's a pure love. And one thing I've learned as I've gotten older is we don't need to just be loved. We need to give love too. And I got my dogs when I broke up with a boyfriend that I had that was one of the loves of my life, and one of the two. And I knew, I could feel, like you said, my heart was, I guess it did close. I guess it must have closed. And something within me, when I got my dog, obviously I thought it was because I wanted to be loved again. But what I realized I started feeling in myself, Nina, was, and maybe it's a woman thing, a mothering thing, I don't know, but I needed to love something else as well as be loved. It's a reciprocal thing.
Right. Now, an interesting story. I met a man who died several times and came back in his body. And he was expressing to me that love being the most important thing we need. And he said, when you're on the other side, you don't experience the other as the other. And because there are no bodies and things to keep up. So you come to earth to learn to give love to somebody or some being else, you know, and that separation demands that you have to accept the externals to get to the love, you know. And with animals, you can do it so much easier, of course, because they play the games you play. They play other games.
They have their instincts, but they don't have their psychological programming and their whatever. Is that must be touching on what you mean when you know, I've heard you say a lot, you know, the we are one concept. Would you like to share with us what you feel like that means, Nina? We are one.
So I think that we've gone from I to we. The we is being the collaboration, and they're seeing in businesses that if you come and partner, you can establish more, you can get greater grants, you can have a bigger impact, blah, blah, blah. And then how do you go from the we to we are one? And that oneness I experience is that we're all the same. We all have hearts, we all have minds, we all have dreams, but all the dreams are really based on wanting to create our own personal happiness. Yes, through people think through money, through love relationships, whatever. But in the end, it's what we're all wishing for ourselves. And therefore, why not wish it for all of us and allow us to unify? And if we could trust each other enough to break through all those separations, we could stop stepping on each other somehow and allow each other to live side by side. And yeah, I think that's what we want. Oneness, that, and eventually that's the highest state of being one can be in. Yeah, is to experience the other as the I.
Well, I like to always say there's more that unites us than divides us. And like you said, at the end of the day, we're all human. We all want to live in peace and harmony in our lives and to feel happy, safe, fulfilled. We're all eventually here to learn that ultimately we're going back to the one source from the multiple, because it's all from the one.
And if you look at a child's development, you would see you have to develop the I first. You can understand the other at all. I mean, it's natural progress.
Yeah. Self-actualization. All right. As we get to the end here, do you have any final tips for the women in the audience that to learn from your life? Just words of wisdom for different stages?
I don't know if I can give you words of wisdom, but women, I support us all in being who we are and believe that it is our time now to come forward and hold truth together, and that we have that kind of understanding that's nurturing and can bring us together. So we need to move forward. So I encourage you to do that.
Okay. And specific tips for the mom in the suburbs that's got kids working part-time, trying to keep the home together. What can she actually do to help use our nurturing capacity as women to move the world forward?
I mean, I took in foster kids.
Wow.
I did those kinds of things, there's so many things you can do. Bake sales for your school. I went on the school board. I just was an active person, but if you really have to stop thinking, what is it outside, but what is it that you feel like doing that you could do, and think 7 generations ahead. And that's what the natives say, the indigenous population. And so whatever you do adds to the concept of what's to occur 7 generations down. So when you think like that, maybe you'll plant a tree in your yard versus an annual. I don't know, but use these guideposts to make a good life for yourself.
And how good would that feel? I mean, it's really kind of self-serving. That's the irony, is like, wow, your reward is it makes you feel amazing. You know? I love it. Okay, Nina, how can people find out more about One Humanity, your work, learn more about you and what you're doing, and where do you want to direct us to look?
Yeah, a little complicated, but look at www.onehumanity.institute, if you don't mind. And that tells you about the recent project adjacent to Auschwitz to be an example of transforming people's behavior and giving them an opportunity to commit to making a better world. And if you just Google my name, you're going to find a lot of stuff.
Yes, indeed. Okay. And everyone, that'll be in the show notes. I hope you do check out her great website to get involved. It's a great resource. And just, even if it's just very inspiring for a woman who's just lived a full life and has contributed to the quality of life of the others and children in the world. And still going strong, girl. I love it. Okay. Well, Nina, thank you so much for being on the show. Any final words?
Thank you, and thank you. Oh, and may peace prevail on earth.
Aho, may peace prevail on earth and everywhere else for that matter. Aho. Thank you for being with us, Nina. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. If you enjoyed the show, share it with a woman that you think it will inspire, because we hit a lot of topics today that I think are universal to all of our lives. And I just find it super inspiring, someone like Nina. If you want to support me, please subscribe, leave a review is like next level support. And you can check out my website for all my favorite products with coupon codes as well. Thank you, Nita. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time on Awakening Aphrodite. Would you like to support my mission to help empower people all over the world to be all of who they truly are? If so, please subscribe to the show, leave a review on iTunes, and share it with a friend. And if you're looking to take immediate action to align your energy and optimize your health, visit amyfournier.com. Thanks for listening to Awakening Aphrodite. Let's awaken her together in you. I'm your hostess, Amy Fournier, and I already can't wait to be with you again and for you to hear what I have planned for the next show.
Thanks for listening to Awakening Aphrodite with Amy Fournier. To learn more about Amy, check out her website, amyfournier.com. That's AMYFOURNIER.com. You can also check out Amy's live and on-demand virtual fitness and yoga classes and sign up for her newsletter to receive a free mini ebook of 3 of her top tips for making holistic health a lifestyle. Again, that's amyfournier.com and get your ebook sent to your email immediately. Connect with Amy on the daily on Instagram at FitAmyTV, FITAMYTV, and watch many of the podcast episodes and subtopic clips on her YouTube channel, which is also FitAmyTV. Enjoy, and we'll see you next time on Awakening Aphrodite.